So good morning again. This is Dr. Adrian Dane Kenny from Jamway Hospital. So I am now just going to notify you all of some words that I have defined and come up with. Four of which are definitely original words that have, well, three of those have never been used before. I don't think ever existed in the English lexicon ever before I came up with those. And then but those are three of a total of seven that I'm going to mention. These can all be found on Urban Dictionary, of which I've put 22 words up on Urban Dictionary. And to my surprise, some of them were not new. They had been used in other contexts, or even in the context that I started understanding them, which just shows how versatile the English language is, and language in general. But so for me, the other point is, how did I, why is Urban Dictionary so important to me? One of the reasons why Urban Dictionary is so important to me is because when I was trying to understand psychiatry, specifically delusion, psychosis, schizophrenia, mania, manic depression, depression with psychosis, they'd always talk about patients being deluded and delusional. And it just didn't make sense why we were focusing so much on delusion when there's the other side to it, that, there's something real to their experience. And, what is that then? What are we really trying to be and searching for in terms of knowing ourselves? And so, it finally really started focusing on this word delusion, and this idea of having a fixed belief about something that is objectively not real. For instance, there's millions or billions of people who believe in a God, but that's a delusion. There's kids who believe, there's a Santa Claus who can fly or can sit in a sled and fly with reindeers who apparently can fly. That is another delusion. Yes, delusions can be minor, major, rooted in some truth, but, it ends up being some kind of fixed belief. It can be overcome and changed, but it usually takes some time. Some are easy, like the Santa Claus thing. That's an easy one because of culture and tradition. But the delusion about God, not so easy, because most people end up dying thinking that they're going to heaven to meet God, or thinking that God is going to do something for them, when the truth is, it just ends up being another man, like in the words of Robert Nesta Marley, a mighty God is a living man. All right, so back to these words. So to finish up that point, is that, when it comes to that word delusion, I finally realized, the root of that word delusion is just illusion. L-U-S-I-O-N. And I Googled that, and the only place that I could really find anything on illusion was Urban Dictionary. Couldn't find much in the psychiatric literature, which I think is something that can be developed really well, because it will help a lot of delusional psychiatrists who think they're helping, either by overprescribing medication or forcing hospitalizations when people are just trying to figure themselves out, or who are just mean and evil and doing it because they enjoy torture. So, that word illusion I got from Urban Dictionary, and it clarified a lot, because the definition on Urban Dictionary is clarity of mind, or a state of clearance. It's like clairvoyance. And that helped me understand, how to attain illusion, and how to, continue attaining my goals, because I was like, wow, that's great. We don't even need to focus on delusion. Let's just be illusional and move forward. So as a result of that, the first word that I developed for, actually it's not the first word, but one of the words that I developed for and decided to define, and I put it on Urban Dictionary, is aushwietzergaden, which is a process of illusion. I'm not going to go into all the details of the definition because I've already typed it out very specifically and very clearly and very concisely. So it's very efficient and effective, and you can find it on Urban Dictionary. I'm going to put the links for each of these in the description of the video, so you all can just go and read it for yourselves. You can comment on these things, though, and you can definitely, contact me if you have any input, or if you know any literature that I just haven't stumbled upon or found that, touches on these types of things. But I do know these are, 3 of these words are very original, and that is aushwietzergaden. That's one of them. So let me just go through these 7 words in chronological order. Or rather I guess it's chronological order. It's not exactly in chronological order. But anyway, so the first word is wab, W-A-B. And that one is just white, Asian, black, which really what represents me racially, as I'm multiracial and have been through, my ancestry for many generations. In my family, there is a lot of racial admixture. There is no doubt about that. We got race genes from all these different races of people, from white to black, from Fitzpatrick 1 to Fitzpatrick 6. And I know that, without a doubt. I'm even planning to do my Ancestry.com to see, the specific contributions based on the race and ethnic genetic markers that they have. So the next word is aushwietzergaden. Well, in this case, it's aushwietzerbaden, which is a form of aushwietzergaden, but in this case, the person or the analysand or the patient or the individual, human, whatever it is doing, going through a process of illusion from a negative perspective, a negative attitude. Everything's kind of negative. I think a lot of us fluctuate through these types of things like aushwietzerbaden and aushwietzergaden, but I know for me, I was going more through aushwietzergaden. I've always been very, very positive, despite what happens to me. So that's aushwietzerbaden. I also defined something called street shopping, which is pretty much like dumpster diving, which has really been helpful. I don't really go out there looking for things, but as I didn't have much to do and I had time, I would just walk around the city, go out to get something to eat, do some grocery shopping, go to a park, go meet up with a friend. And along the way, I would usually end up seeing things that people discarded, left on the side of the road, sometimes very dirty even. And I just eventually realized I might as well pick it up, put it in a bag, take it home, wash it, and use it somehow. So that's what I call street shopping, Do be careful of theft, because I don't go and pick up things that are clearly somebody else's or something that someone left behind but seems to be returning to get. Like if they place it in a specific place, it's really just things that were discarded, left behind, or lost. Some of the things are probably clearly lost. Like, there was a jacket, somehow was around the government center area, just on the ground as I was walking to the government center. I even waited a while to look to see if anybody was coming back for it. And then I decided to pick it up. When I picked it up, nobody said anything. And I even waited a while to see if anybody was coming back yet again, and realized, well, I might as well take it and go home, because whoever lost this probably won't get it unless nobody else takes it, or maybe they didn't even want it. I really don't know. But yeah. So, the street shopping has been helpful. So the next one is aushwietzergaden. So that's the process of illusion that I started off talking about initially. It is a little different to aushwietzerbaden, but it's with aushwietzergaden, it's just not as negative. It's either like neutral or more of a positive attitude. And then the two that I think will be, those aushwietzerbaden and Gaden, I think those are going to be really helpful, especially for psychiatrists and for patients going through the mental health system, trying to understand what they're going through, knowing that they're not, having some massive chronic psychiatric diagnosis, such as schizophrenia, manic depressive, or depression with psychosis, but really just having maybe more of what we would call like an adjustment disorder, which for some reason a lot of American psychiatrists, at least the ones that I saw, really didn't for some reason decide to explain to me. And I even tried to bring it up, and everybody was focused on some massive chronic disorder that I know I didn't have. I was still trying to figure out the United States, America, the difference between Americans and Jamaicans, difference between Jamaicans and Canadians, the immigration that I had gone through, the amount of travel I had done, my educational attainment, what I knew, what I had learned, the difference between learning and knowing, intelligence, cognitive differences, and none of the psychiatrists took that into consideration the way that I would have wanted them to by specifically engaging with me and talking to me about it so I could understand their perspectives and learn from their experience, knowledge, and reading. Maybe it just takes too much money to get that in the United States. I don't know. Or maybe anywhere. Maybe they just want more money for that kind of service. I really don't know. But that's kind of stuff that I usually do for free with anybody who crosses my path and wants that, needs that, or is seeking for that. Or if I think it might help them, I offer those types of services. Well, I'll just sit, listen, and reflect back to them and let them know what I know and what I think would definitely help them. But apparently not everybody does that as much, or maybe it was just my perspective. I don't know. But anyway, I got through all that stuff and, got to this side and enjoyed myself, even enjoyed learning to advocate for myself. I never really had to advocate for myself because my parents pretty much took care of me, and my grandparents, and my relatives, my cousins, aunts and uncles. Pretty much everybody just kept taking care of me. So all I had to do was keep eating, enjoy my life, go out and party, have sex, and have a great time. Nah, joking. Anyway, so back to the words. The last two words that I wanted to touch on, which I think will be helpful, especially for the science-minded people, are saptiva and captiva. Captiva explains the process of us realizing the sun as the earth rotates and that light enters our eyes at the beginning of the day. And saptiva does, presumably what would be considered the opposite. It's not exactly the opposite. It kind of is. I guess it's the opposite. But saptiva is the process of recognizing the end of the day when the earth is rotating, the sunlight from the sun is no longer reaching us on that part of the surface of the earth and therefore not entering our pupils and activating our brains with that sunlight. So that's saptiva and captiva and saptiva as the way that I defined it this time. Again, there'll be links to that stuff. And those words are on Urban Dictionary. It's not always easy to find the words on Urban Dictionary because if they're not very unique, and there's so many definitions from so many other people that you have to end up scrolling through a lot of the same, a lot of the definitions for that particular word, rather. So definitely, view, like, subscribe, comment, share, and do, let me know anything. I'm willing to read anything, anybody's comments, whatever anybody wants to say. Don't be shy, don't be timid. When it comes to my videos and the comments on YouTube, just go ahead and type out whatever you want. I'll read, I'll respond with what I know, I'll respond with what I can, and, I'll definitely entertain more discussion and interaction